Hello, beautiful souls. Kimberly here, and back with the third message. So, Rise and Shine Part 3. So, our third week into October. 3 out of 4 messages we're entering into today. So, the first part, we asked the question, are you willing to rise? If the idea here is it's been a tough time, a tough season, a difficult season, am I even willing to rise? We talked about um, the miracle of life and how unique we all are with the opportunity to have this gift of life. And so we went pretty deep on that. But at the end of the day, you really do get to choose. Unlike a caterpillar evolving to become a butterfly doesn't have a choice in the matter. We as humans, we do get to choose. We can stay small. We can choose not to evolve and to grow as, challenges hit us and life gets uncomfortable. And then on our second week, part 2, we talked about whether or not it's possible to not only rise but to be stronger. And in fact, yes, the answer is yes. We can not only be stronger for having moved through and persevered through challenges, but more loving, more compassionate. And we have this amazing human ability to adapt, to be able to adapt and really put to use a growth mindset. So what I want to talk about today in part 3 is to start to answer the question, okay, how do we do it? How do we begin the process of taking steps forward in a positive way? How do we rise and shine? So I always think of this quote from Charles Swindoll: life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. And not only is that so true from a philosophical standpoint, and we could talk about it all day, but science has actually come to prove that point, that really our circumstances have an impact, but it's much less of an impact as what we at one point thought. So life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond to it. As humans, we tend to be very reactionary beings. We typically allow our mental and emotional state to be determined by our external circumstances rather than the other way around. And the major problem with this is that by the time we're in like our 30s, we're so conditioned through our life experience that our minds are like computers running on a software program that is made up of habits and beliefs and perspectives that are all pre-existing, that may or may not serve us in a given moment. Even if they're beliefs and perspectives and habits, behaviors that served us at one time, they may not serve us in the moment, but we're kind of conditioned to rely on them as our kind of software program. So we tend to react based on that conditioning versus responding consciously. So we spend basically a short and easy way to put it, we spend a good majority of our life, most of us, on autopilot. We're just on autopilot. And that is the opposite of the growth mindset we spoke about last week. That is actually considered a fixed mindset. But it doesn't have to be that way. I often think that most of our struggles in our day-to-day lives come from this daily battle that goes on between our conditioning and our consciousness, like our all-knowing consciousness. And it's like a daily, it's almost like a war, a personal war. You've heard that the greatest war you'll ever fight is the one within you. I think that's what it ends up being. It's this conditioning partnered with our ego that is constantly in battle with our soul, our consciousness. And so what do? It's pretty simple, really. Simple does not mean easy, but I will say it is as simple as this. We need to get off of autopilot. We need to switch from autopilot to what I call manual mode so that we can consciously choose how we're going to answer a few very important questions on any given day, in any given moment, in any given circumstance you find yourself in. So I want you to think about these 3 questions. Are you going to focus on what you have or what you don't have? So when we focus on what we don't have, we tend to feel a sense of lack, a sense of scarcity. Whereas when we focus on what we have, we tend to feel a sense of appreciation. So, in any given moment, are you focusing on what you have or don't have? In any given moment, are you focusing on what you can control or what you cannot control? When we focus on what we cannot control, we feel uncertainty, we feel fear. But when we focus on what we can control, as little as it may be in a given moment, we feel empowered. It elicits confidence. And then, of course, what are you going to focus on? The past, the present, or the future? My humble recommendation, focus on the past as much as you need to learn the lessons that it has to offer you in the form of gifts, being the lessons themselves. Focus on the present enough to recognize that there's something to appreciate here, and also to be able to really function from what you know now and what you have now to be able to work from, if that makes sense. So, you know that saying, do the best you can right now with what you know and what you have, right? So it's focusing on the present so we can be intentional about what we're doing with our thoughts and our actions in this present moment. And then focus on the future to be able to visualize what you want and why you want it. So often we use focusing on the future as another way of forming stress and anxiety in our lives, but that's because we tend to fall into the trap of focusing on how all the things could go wrong. And the invitation here is to focus on the future in a way that you think about what you want, why you want it, not even how you're going to get it, but just what you want in your life and why you want it. And then think about all the things that could go right. Like, when's the last time you sat down and looked into the future with positive expectation, thinking about all of the wonderful things that could go right? Because if the future is uncertain, which it is for all of us, then we really do have that choice. We can put our energy into all the things that could go wrong, or put our energy into all the things that can go right, the things that can go well. So I really want to encourage you to hone that practice of focus. It really is a practice. You know, I've had clients and people I've worked with that said, well, I'm not good at that. That's silly. You may not feel like you're good at it yet, but your ability to focus is a practice. So I just encourage you to continue to challenge yourself as I continue to on my journey. In those moments where I'm feeling a sense of negative emotion, I go to these three questions. I think, okay, in this moment right now, am I focusing on what I have, like what I have to appreciate, or what I don't have, what I wish I had? In this moment, am I focusing on what I can't control, or am I focusing on what I can control? And then where's my chronological focus? Like, am I dwelling on the past? Am I worried about the future? Am I allowing myself to be present, knowing that my power is here with my thoughts and actions? And then looking to the future for possibility versus uncertainty. And I have to tell you, when you can ask yourself those questions, it can absolutely change the game. Now, I'm I often get accused for being an optimist and kind of having rose-colored glasses. And so I've said that before. I will say it again. I will take the compliment, but I really am an optimistic realist. I get it that there are often external circumstances that are beyond our control. That means that, you know what, things can happen, such as a global pandemic that we don't get to choose to be excused from. But I'll just go back to that Charles Swindoll quote. Life is 10% what happened to you. Yeah, a pandemic happened and it shut the world down. And we can't take that back. We can't change it. But life is 10% the fact that that happened, and 90% how we choose to respond. And your response, in my mind, is your focus. So when you can choose to focus on what you have to appreciate, what you can control, focus on the present and what you have again to appreciate, but also what you have within your thoughts and actions that can contribute to a positive way forward. And then, speaking of a way forward, looking forward to the future with with if not excitement, at least some positive expectation. There's a reason why in a car the rearview mirror is only this big and the front window is huge, as well as the side windows. We're looking around, we're recognizing our surroundings, but then that huge window up front is because we're meant to be forward facing, forward focused, but not from a place of worry and anxiety. And I get it. I've been there myself, spent a lot of time, wasted tons of time and energy worrying about the future that may or may not happen. Instead, visualize the future of all the potential of wonderful things that could happen. It's kind of one of those won't hurt, might help situations. Okay. So be that optimistic realist. See things as they are, but look to the potential of what could be in a positive way. And I'm telling you, it will change the life experience that you're having in this moment and then what's yet to unfold for you. I know when it comes to focus, I also just wanted to make sure you understand that it's all about energy too. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. Whatever you focus on, you begin to feel it. It begins to become more of your experience in a big way. And so never underestimate the power of your focus. And so that's my invitation for you today in our part 3, as we look to how do I rise and shine coming out of this challenging year so far. We're going to continue the conversation next week, talking about moving forward from here. But I really want you to remember that in any given moment, you get to choose your perspective and you can ask yourself those questions. Like, what am I focusing on right now? What am I using the power of my focus on right now? Is it what I have or what I don't have? Is it what I can control or what I can't control? Is it the past, present, and future? And then how am I focused on the present and future? And remember, the past, we just focus on it enough to take the gifts of the lessons learned. And then I just wanted to kind of wrap with saying that, when you feel like challenge is being thrown your way, a difficult season, which we've all experienced this year for sure, I really encourage you to recognize the importance of pausing, taking a few breaths, asking those questions, and then allowing yourself the opportunity to respond in a way that will contribute to a positive path forward. Viktor Frankl has a quote that I absolutely love. He says, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space." I have it written over here, so I'm going to read it actually so I don't mess it up. I don't want to mess up Viktor Frankl's work. So, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and freedom. Well, that space that Viktor Frankl's talking about, I call that grace. Between every action and reaction, between every stimulus and response, there is a space. And it is that grace that you can give yourself in times of uncertainty and turmoil and chaos and frustration. Give yourself that grace. Take the pause, focus inward, take the deep breaths, ask the questions about your focus, and then be very conscious as opposed to being conditioned in that moment. Get off autopilot, get in manual mode, ask those right questions, refocus as needed, and then very intentionally, consciously move forward in a way that will have a positive impact. Move forward in a way that takes you further down the path in a positive direction, instead of continuing to allow the circumstances of this life in this world to kind of weigh you down. So that is what I had to share with you today. I'm going to pop over. I haven't been looking at, I've been trying, I've glanced, but I've been trying not to look at comments because I didn't want to get thrown off. But hi, Mary Rose and Erico and Jody. Erico doing wellness advisor training. That's awesome. Jody says, I love that your shift of thinking about the future differently. It is much more empowering, Jody. You're so right. Hey, Heidi, how are you? The what you want and why you want it, and that all the things that can go right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Papa. Yeah. So that's my encouragement to you. Okay. Focus on what you have. In any situation, there's something to appreciate. If not life itself and the breath you have in your body right now, there's something to appreciate. So focus on what you have, focus on what you can control, recognizing in some scenarios that may not feel like a whole lot, but what can you control? You can control where your thoughts go and the actions that you take. That's for darn sure. So focus on what you can control. And then, of course, focus on the past just enough to learn, the present enough to kind of really get the intention together with your thoughts and actions. What can I do now in a positive way with what I know and what I have? And also what I have to appreciate in this moment right here, right now. And then focusing on the future. What do I want? Why do I want it? And then what are all the wonderful things that could happen as time unfolds? So that's what I had to share with you today. Next week, we're going to be talking about, okay, now what? So we talked about choosing to rise. In the second week, we talked about the growth mindset and how as humans, we have this amazing ability to adapt, to grow, and to evolve. And now today, just talking about those right questions to ask, to get off autopilot, get in manual mode, ask the right questions to set you back on a positive path. And next week, we'll talk about now what? Now what? So thank you so much. Whether you're watching live, thank you all so much for jumping on, or you catch this later. If you have any questions or thoughts, please share them in the comments. Don't hesitate to share the video. It'd be an honor to know that the message is being spread beyond even my Facebook wall or wherever you're seeing it. So beyond that, until our paths cross again, just know that I am sending you so much love. So take care.